Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead on and get started. And I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is the Brawley City Council Sector Agency, Brawley Community Redevelopment Agency meeting this Tuesday, December the 17th at 6 p.m. Can we have the roll call, please?
The minutes will reflect all council members present.
Okay. I'll do the invocation, and I ask that Councilmember Mr. Donnie Wharton lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for a wonderful day, Father. And Father, we thank you so much for our family and our employees, Father, of our wonderful city. And Father, we ask that you touch our hearts and keep us humble, Father, and so we keep you first, Father. And Father, we thank you so much for your many blessings. And Father, this is not just the end of the year. This is Christmas, Father. And we recognize you and we praise you, Father, for all that you do for us. And if there's someone here, Father, that's not feeling well, we ask that you touch their bodies, Father. And Father, most of all, we ask that you look over all of us, Father, and help us have a wonderful Christmas holiday and continue to bless you, Father, and praise your name. And Father, we ask you to look over our church and church families and our pastors and keep them healthy so they can continue to teach us how to worship you, Father. And Father, we ask these things in your Son's precious name. Amen.
Amen.
And if you would join me in the pledge of our great nation's flag. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. And is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented or any changes?
So moved.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The approval agenda is complete. The next item is public appearance and comments, and this is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter's jurisdiction of the city council. The mayor will recognize you when you come to the microphone. Please state your name for the record. You are not allowed to make personal attacks on individuals. Or make comments which are slanderous or which may invade an individual's personal privacy. Please direct your questions and comments to the city council. And if there's someone from the public that wishes to come up, this is the time to do so.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Thank you. Jason Zara with the Brawley Chamber. I apologize if you may have heard this before, but I wanted to come out and thank the city and the council one more time. We had our second farmers market this weekend. It was a big success. I'd especially like to thank Council Members Wharton and Nava for assisting us at our booth and actually taking part in the event. And of course, the city staff was incredibly helpful. With the holidays, we were short-staffed on our end, and the city staff really picked up the slack and made the event a wonderful success again. So thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Jay.
That was great.
Yeah.
Good evening, Council. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome one of our newest officers on board, David Pham. David, if, as you know, or some of you were here, was sworn in on December 3rd. He's originally from South Vietnam. He was raised in Riverside. Donnie, you'll like this. He holds 2 degrees. He has a associate's in aviation science and a bachelor's in aviation management. He's always had a strong vision of being a police officer. He convinced his parents. He landed here. We're happy to have him. David Pham.
Welcome. You like, Mr. Pham, you want to?
Good evening, everyone. I'm just really excited to be here. I'm ready to learn this job very well, and I'm looking forward to being an exemplary police officer in the city of Brawley.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Welcome, brother.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chief. Bef-
He was with his family the other day when he was sworn in, and beautiful family. I met him outside, so congratulations to you and your family.
Before we move on, I want to make sure there's anyone else like to come up. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. How you guys doing? My name is George Valenzuela with the Imperial Valley Lowrider Council. I wanted to say a couple words. We requested a permit to close the street off for Saturday, upcoming Saturday, for our first annual toy drive on Main Street. We requested to close, and it was rejected. We were given a smaller portion of the city street, which is the area that goes around the kiosk, to be closed due to, I guess, other events we've had at the plaza before, and it wasn't a big enough venue for them to close off Main Street. I just wanted to let the council know, be aware of that. In the past, there was only one car club doing the toy drives. Now, the Imperial Valley Local Council is made up of 6 different car clubs now, and one motorcycle club. So it's going to be a bigger venue, and I don't know if it's too late or if it's not too late to still be able to close the Main Street off, being that it is going to be a bigger venue. And I don't know if there's anything I can do or can say or someone I could speak to see if I could get that turned around. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I was not aware of an appeal coming forward tonight. I believe staff has had the opportunity to review the event request. The suggestion that was offered as feedback to the applicant, as I understand it, and I'll allow Mr. Rubio to provide additional information if I misstate, was that given that it was a first-time event, that perhaps the more modest approach of doing a partial closure on the south side of the plaza would allow enough space on the south plaza to provide support for the event, so that proper access could be maintained on Main Street and additional circulation could occur to still reach other businesses.
Yeah.
From my understanding as well, though, I think they're also being allowed to use the grass area surrounding the kiosks, so I think that'll provide additional space. And this matter was brought to my attention. I did speak with Mr. Eric Reyes. I think you reached out to him.
Right.
And I did discuss with him that I talked to our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Rubio, and he had contacted one of the club's individuals, and from my understanding that there seemed to be a good understanding of what was taking place. So I'm not sure if the event is going to be attended by many or not, but I think the city has done everything that it can at this point to see if it's going to work, and if it's successful, it's very successful. I think we're all interested in seeing it grow, and then we can consider shutting down Main Street next year. But Mr. Rubio, is there anything else that you'd like to add to this?
That's a pretty big endeavor to shut down Main.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor Campbell, members of council, and city staff. I was working with one organizer from the La Gente Car Club, Mr. Blas Gutierrez, and after several discussions last week and in consultation with our other department heads, both public safety and public works, we came to the agreement that the prior history of the event really didn't necessitate full closure of Main Street. So what we offered to the car club, well, to Mr. Gutierrez at the time, was we would close East Plaza from Main Street all the way up to North Imperial Avenue. And we would also include the area of that would be South 5th Street, from the old Party Line store over to the alley just south of Foster's Freeze. And after a couple of discussions, well, several discussions back and forth with Mr. Gutierrez and with our other department heads, that's what we came to an agreement on. And I had a conversation yesterday morning with Mr. Gutierrez, and he seemed to be happy with that. And he did make the remark that what their effort was going to be this year was for a large turnout and to show the city that for next year's event it would justify closing Main Street. And that's where we left it at this point. So we left the closure from Main Street all the way to North Imperial Avenue, including 5th Street. And I stressed this point several times to Mr. Gutierrez, that he also had the park area around the kiosk available to them for parking, for vendors, and for a children's play zone if they wanted to utilize that. So that was the area offered to them. And yes, there were concerns. Initially, we were going to go ahead with the closure, but after consultation, like I mentioned before, with the other department heads, we thought differently and offered this backup plan to him.
So just for clarification, the event is still scheduled, or have they decided?
No, the event is still on. The event is still on, and the agreement was yesterday morning for the closure I just mentioned. There's no cancellation of the event, and I guess there's a secondary request to go back to the original and see if we can get Main Street closed off.
Yeah. I think what we should do is stick with the agreement that's in place and maybe work on it and maybe get together a little earlier next year if we're going to look at closing off Main Street. Because we do want to see the event go off for the kids. I mean, that's what it's about.
Yeah. And were we under the understanding that there's 6 car clubs plus a motorcycle?
Yes, that was pointed out. The 6 car clubs, a motorcycle club, plus numerous solo attendees, people that aren't involved with the club, but yet who would show up and put their cars on display.
Richard, for our purposes this evening, can you please recap the street closure times and locations that are a part of the proposed approach?
Okay, closure time will be 6:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturday the 21st. And road closure location will be from Main Street on East Plaza. That would be right in front of the old Superior Furniture Store, going north all the way to North Imperial Avenue, which would be right behind the post office parking lot. The closure would also include a section, that short section of 5th Street from the old Party Line store to the alley south of Foster Freeze. That's the road closure. Plus, they have the park area to use.
Yes. Okay.
Mr. Valenzuela, I have a question. With respect to the car clubs, is there an estimated number of cars that you're expecting?
See, in the past, I can't give you the exact amount, but in the past, like I had said earlier, and I understand where everyone's coming from. Believe me, I understand. In the past, we've had our toy drives, and every car club itself would have a toy drive, sometimes even on the same day in a different city.
Right.
And now that's why we have come together and started the Lowrider Council to just have one toy drive. And we've had a good turnout in the past here at the park area here in the plaza. And now that it's going to be 6 car clubs in the motorcycle club, that's why we're requesting Main Street be closed. But I mean, again, I understand where you guys are coming from. I just wanted to see if there was any way I could turn it over or make it happen still.
But do you have an idea of the number of vehicles at this point?
It's going to be at least 100 cars. I mean, each club has from 10 to 15 cars each club, plus, like like was mentioned, the solo riders that come. I mean, so it's going to be a good amount of cars, plus motorcycles.
Okay. Thank you for your work on that, and certainly hope when you say turn it over, I know you're trying for this Saturday, but if not, I mean, it sounds like you can make a really good case for next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Mr. Valenzuela. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to come up at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is the consent agenda. Items are approved by one motion. Council members or members of the public may request consent items to be considered separately at a time determined by the mayor. And is there a motion to approve?
I'm sorry, second.
Yeah.
There's a motion by Mr. Nava and a second by Mr. Wharton to approve the consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. The next item on the agenda is item number 4 under regular business. Review and authorize professional service agreement in the amount of $82,220 with JBL Associates for the preparation of plans and specifications for the La Paloma Bond Settlement Street Improvement Project.
$85,000.
$85,220. Did I say something?
82.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Council Members. Yasmin Arellano, Public Works Director. I would like to provide a little background on this project on La Paloma subdivision. The La Paloma specific plan, it's a master development plan that includes 409 acres, and we had a residential, single-family townhomes, commercial, industrial, public facilities, and schools. The units, the only two mapped developments are Unit 1 and 2, as shown. Those are bounded by Mayland, Best, Eastern Avenue, and Calle de Valenzuela. On August, the city entered into a bond settlement agreement with Arch Company in the amount of $2.7 million for improvements to be delivered to this two mapped units. And the current balance after special council expenditures is $2,279,609.18. Resolution 2013-53, which was approved on September of this year, established a bond settlement agreement expenditure priorities for La Paloma subdivision as disclosed in this table. With the known funding available in the estimates, this made the decision to proceed with priorities 1 and 2 and the estimated amount of $2.155 million. Priority 1 will bring occupied streets up to grade, and the streets that are hatched red, which are Honza, Avenida de Colimbo, Maica, and Milano. Priority 2 will develop the eastern entrance, the western entrance to the subdivision, which is a construction of the eastern half of Eastern Avenue from Mayland to Calle de Valenzuela, and full with improvements on Calle de Valenzuela from Southeastern Avenue to Milano. This project, the quote from JBL in the amount of $85,220 includes the preparation of bidding documents and coordination with the Imperial Irrigation District for the pipelining of the Oakley Canal. The Oakley Canal is an IID facility, and IID will design and construct these improvements.
The entire length?
Beg your pardon?
The entire length of the canal?
Just from Mayland to Calle de Valenzuela.
And then, Jasmine, the interest on Eastern, that's west of the project, that is going to be a permanent entrance, and the street will be up to grade, and so it's not going to be temporary.
Yes, sir. It's going to be a permanent entrance. However, we're only going to construct half of the street. We're constructing 30 feet of the right-of-way, enough to fit two vehicle lanes at one time.
So there will be no curb and gutters, and it's not.
There will be curb and gutter only on the eastern side of the street.
Mayor Campbell and Council, you may recall that the intent associated with Priority 2 was to provide a secondary access in the event of an emergency. We've got only a single entrance to the subdivision at this time, and while we recognize that a half-width improved street is not the same thing as a full-width, what can be gained by having the second improved entrance is of value to the overall project area.
Okay. Any other questions from council?
Mine's more of just curiosity. I see a pretty good breakdown of the cost estimate for the work that's being proposed here tonight. Is a lot of that, obviously, is it predicated on actual hours, just billable man hours, or is it, I see it's going to be invoiced incrementally? It's not paid in one lump sum?
The $85,000 to JBL?
Yes.
Yeah, it's based on professional hours.
Okay.
Yes.
Is there what I didn't see in there, is there obviously a rate per hour that works out to, out of curiosity? And again, it's just for my information. I'm not leading at anything. I just
Typically, the proposals include that information. If we didn't include it, I can definitely bring it back.
Okay, if you just make a note, I can get that later, that's fine too. Just out of curiosity.
The scope of work is listed, but not the hours.
I'm willing to move forward with this because I know the project. In order for the project to be complete, this work has to be done. But if I'm looking at that right, we're talking that half a street or whatever you want to call it at Eastern, that's $1.7 million.
Correct.
And
Right, because of the undergrounding.
It's because of the undergrounding of the canal at Malin.
Right.
Correct. It includes, the city is responsible for paying the Imperial Irrigation District for design of the pipelining of that portion of the Oakley Canal, and also to pay for the construction of the pipeline. In addition, the city has the IIB quitclaimed the Bryan Drain, so it is a city facility. So the city...
They quitclaimed it. They're like, you can have it. It's your problem. There you go.
And Jasmine, the reason I bring that up, because I don't want people to come back later and say, you did a half a street here with a half a for $1.7 million. So that way the public understands what's
But
all
it's
there.
not just the road improvement, it's what's under.
The underground and all that.
So, and it'll be done already before they finish the, so.
Because believe me, people go, man, you spent $1.7 million for that? It doesn't look like much, but it's a lot of work. I understand that. I just want to make sure the public understands,
And Mr. Mayor, would it be fair to say also, when we looked at our, earlier when we passed this resolution, there'll be other phases or priorities, and this actually is a bulk of, I could say, the more expensive part of the project.
That's all the money there.
So we can finish.
This is what the bond
That's it.
gave
That's
us.
all we got.
Well, I understand that, but I mean, of the choices, the other future improvements that we're going to want to make.
Yeah, what Donnie's saying, we have to do this. This gives us the ability to move forward with the rest of it. I understand.
If I may provide one bit of clarification to Councilmember Wharton, the improvements in the project area far exceed the bond proceeds available, and the strategy of the city has been, once we reached a settlement with the bond company and exhausted the litigation with the private party that was pursuing a number of topics involving the city, that we would choose the highest or recommend the highest benefit improvements. So whatever the city doesn't perform will be future obligations of the project area when additional dwellings are constructed.
Understood.
Got it. And the developer will be responsible
Correct.
for those, not the city.
Correct.
Right.
And, why beat a dead horse, but settlement was 2.7, we have about 2.2 left.
Right.
And about 500 was spent in litigation.
In a trial.
Legal
Right.
fees.
Yeah, so.
Absolutely.
One of the things I did not mention in the presentation is that this tentative plan expires on April 30th of 2016, in case you were curious.
Yeah. No, I just wanted clarification for the public, so there's not a question later that. Okay, is there any other questions from the council?
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Mayor.
There is a motion and a second. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We'll move on to item 4B.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Jasmine. Update on Alice Giroux Park renovation project. Review and authorize amendment number 1 to the agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates Incorporated for the preparation of bidding document plans, specifications, and cost estimates and provisions of construction support services. That's listed on page 38 and 39 of the packet.
Mayor Campbell, members of council, and city staff. Richard Rubio, Parks and Recreation Director. Back in June of this year, we entered into an agreement with Kimley Horn and Associates to implement a $2.7 million grant received from the California Department of Parks and Recreation. Those funds will be used to renovate Alice Giroux Park. Plans include a new splash pad, new ball field and multi-field use lighting, so the area there can be used as a soccer field, softball field, Little League baseball field. We're also going to do some work on the basketball courts, hopefully improve the surface of the courts, improve the lighting of the courts. We're looking at installing a lighted walking path for the area. So a ton of enhancements to the park in its current state. Tonight, we have the pleasure of 3 team members of the design and engineering staff of Kimley Horn. They're here with us tonight to update us on the design plans for the park. So it gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce the first team member from Kimley Horn and Associates, Mr. Ross Duenas.
Thank you, Richard. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. Let me see if I can work this. Sorry. I broke it.
It's all gone.
There.
Yeah.
Sorry, I have to come back again.
City equipment has a mind of its own.
Yeah. We've had that.
As Mr. Rubio mentioned, excuse me, my name is Ross Duenas with Kimley Horn. I am the project engineer for the consultant team, joined by Mr. Dennis Berkshire of Aquatic Design Group. He is designing the splash pad of the park, and our project manager, Mr. Matt Capuzzi, also of Kimley Horn. So thank you very much again for the opportunity. Right now, the project is at the 30% level. As Richard mentioned, we came on board over the summer. And to date, we've made quite a good amount of progress, I think. I'd like to start off by giving you an overview of our presentation, introduced ourselves, and what we'd like to walk through is kind of the key milestones we've gotten to date. The first public workshop, the second public workshop, the development of our concept plan. Mr. Berkshire will touch on how the splash pad is coming along, because that's really the key of the park itself. Mr. Capuzzi will touch on our public art component, which is another major component of the project, and then wrap up with where we are in the project schedule overall and what our next steps are. Just a quick photo of the design team meeting with our city staff. We went to a number of parks in San Diego County to see what ideas are out there and kind of try and hone in the vision for what Alice Drew can become. It was a great day out with city staff. So the first public workshop, we came to the day camp at the Lions Center. We broke the kids up into small groups. As you can see, there is Mr. Pat Hart, our landscape architect, speaking with a group of children. And we developed material boards to show, primarily for the kids, what some of the play features might be, what the splash pad features and toys they'll have, the ADA playground equipment we're proposing. We didn't really get into what some of the plants and what the building would look like, because that's not what they were concerned about. They wanted to see, what am I going to play with? So we met with the kids, we split them up, and we brought big 24-inch by 36 foam boards, and we gave them all stickers and said, go run to the boards, place these stickers over the items that you really like. And here are some photos showing the items that they preferred. The second half of the public workshop, number one, was then to go to family swim night at the city pool.
I love it even more.
Yeah.
That's like a cool.
Just fantastic turnout, fantastic feedback from the kids. They were so excited.
So our city manager gets her ideas.
So we had a ball with them.
Fifth graders.
This is just a small snippet of the feedback that we received. So following that, we took their material options that the kids were really excited with, and we developed 2 concept plans, what we creatively named Concept A and Concept B. And they held all of the components that the grant requirement that the city wrote wanted to have in the park based on lots of community feedback through that whole process. And we made some subtle variations to show 2 different types of flavor. We held a second community workshop in September at the Imperial Housing Authority building right in the neighborhood of the park. And we had a really good turnout at that as well. And what we did, and it's a little hard to see, I apologize, in the center is, again, the sticky notes where the community came and said, this is really awesome, we really like this, or, can you explain to me why you had this? I'm not really sure. And we tried to meld what the community input was, and then move forward with a consolidated concept, which we then presented these 2 to the department heads and at the city, and they came and said, we would like to move forward with Concept B. And this is what Concept B became, and Mr. Rubio stole a little bit of my thunder walking through most of our components. But as he did mention, the splash pad, which is that blue area south of the basketball courts, that is the king of the park by far. Renovate the basketball courts, a building with a plaza with restrooms and storage just to the west of the splash pad. The multi-use field, which is the existing field today, but we're going to light it, update the irrigation system, make it very sustainable. The eastern half of the park will become a lawn with a DG path running through it, some play features that the kids can play on. Kind of south of the building to the west of the existing school, wedged between the existing playground, will be the ADA playground. DG path surrounding the multi-use field on the western half of the park. All of the components the grant said that this is what we want to build are shown in our concept.
I had a question regarding the splash pad. I know that there was some discussion whether it should be fenced or not. That has it as being fenced. Is that in agreement with city staff, or what was that? Yeah.
Yes. The splash pad is fenced. The fence will actually kind of start at the edge of it. It'll come off of the building and go north, then head east. I'm sorry, north is up on the page. Head east, surround the splash pad, and tie into the existing chain link fence surrounding the school.
Does that mean it needs to be staffed in order to be used, or no? Or just fenced?
Well, in case you want to control usage.
Yeah.
Is that a walkway where people can walk on the right side of the splash, the blue?
Yes, it's sort of a figure eight-ish type loop. Yes. So you could, in theory, walk around the entire multi-use field, cut through the building plaza, and then do a figure eight between the splash pad, Eastern Avenue, and the basketball court, and then come back and repeat itself as well.
Because we're all trying to get into walking.
Yes,
So,
yes.
as you can tell.
And we'll have pedestrian lights as well, so it'll be able to be used at night, and should function very well, I think. As I mentioned, this is our 30% level concept. We're currently in city review with some value engineering options to make sure that we can meet the budget that the city has per the grant, and want to get that pushed all the way up to the point of the grant so we don't have to give any money back, but not be too aggressive that we go over the grant and get into any sort of unfortunate situation there. So we're bouncing ideas back and forth with our city staff and working to make sure that this is the great park everyone wants it to be.
That's good.
Looks really, really nice.
Yes.
Is there any comments from the public?
Chris?
Go ahead while Chris gets...
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, the presentation has a few more moments. Would you prefer to wait until we finish?
Okay.
We're almost.
That's fine.
That ends my portion. I'd like to introduce Mr. Berkshire to speak about the splash pad.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members and city staff. I'm Dennis Berkshire with Aquatic Design Group. Part of what we did here was to show both the children during our workshop as well as adults, parents, some of the options and what we can do with interactive play. And so what you see here were comments where we came up with various types of materials that could be used for this type of a piece. With that, we came up with our original schematic design as to what might happen in a splash pad. And with this, the pointer works here.
Yeah, we know what this means.
With this, we came out with zones where we had flush ground sprays so that we could have a zone for very small toddlers or children. We had another area where we had intermediate types of water features. And then we had the area that would cater to children, to older children, so that we could try to come up with a splash pad that could cater to children of all ages. With that, what we're trying to do is to come up with interactive water in a splash pad. And a splash pad, or sometimes known as a spray ground, is basically much like a public swimming pool, except that there isn't any standing water. This is a recirculated filtered system so that we're not wasting water, but all the water is stored in an underground vault or an underground tank, and then it's pumped out via booster pumps out of the various features. Once we came out with kind of a site plan of what would fit and what the budget could be for this, we then reached out to the 5 major manufacturers of play equipment where we've come up with some themes in terms of desert oasis type themes. And we went to them saying we would like to come up with some materials that they could use that could fit the theme without spending custom money to try to come up with custom products that would stretch our budget or lessen the experience that the children, the patrons here in Brawley would be able to enjoy. So what you're seeing here are some renderings of one of the manufacturers, Raindrop, where again, they show things like a waterfall that would be coming off of a high desert mesa area, desert types of plants that might be around, and some of the sprays. And again, idea of coming up where we can have flush ground sprays for small children, another zone where we can have the intermediate, and then the larger stuff for older children to enjoy. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever been here during the summertime?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So is there any way we could get some shade around that, or?
Absolutely. That's a great question, and it's very important. What you can see in this concept here, this is another manufacturer, Vortex. Now we start looking at features that can actually provide shade on the splash pad itself. And we've also been talking about shade that could be housed just adjacent to it. So parents that are supervising their children and stuff would have a place to be. And that's very important to this park.
Yes.
We're also looking at some other manufacturers that have large climb-on jungle gyms. And the idea is this water is going to be interactive. So kids can manipulate the water, make it go up and down, move, devices that could shoot water at one another, and all kinds of things they can do to interact and play. On the climb-on structures and the dumping buckets, we can even get covers to those that could help provide shade as well. So this is another example of a manufacturer with what they came up with, products that might fit our theming for the pad itself. And then with that, we're waiting for the other 3 manufacturers. We'll then put all of that together, pick the best of all of those, get back with the city staff so that we can then come in and say how this is all going to piece together as we move on from this 30% document. And with that, I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thank you, Dennis, Mr. Mayor, members of council, city staff. I just want to close this by talking a little bit about the public art piece that we're going to incorporate into the project. We're working with the Rainforest Art Program, a nonprofit organization who I think most of you know has done a lot of really good work here in the city of Brawley. Just run through some of the art features that we're looking at. One of the things we want to incorporate some of the Native American basket designs. So these would be stamped concrete circular nodes. There'd be 3 of them located within the park. And these are some of the designs that we're looking at right now. We're going to try to honor the 3 different Native American tribes that had their home here in the valley. Another thing that we're going to incorporate is some stamps, fossils, and animal tracks in the dry zone. It's a 4-foot wide dry zone that surrounds the splash pad. So you'll have these little stamps kind of in that area. As I don't think we mentioned this, but the theme of the overall park is Treasures of the Desert. So as I go through this, you're going to see that's where the art is focused. We're going to also have we're looking at having 2 lizard sculptures. They're going to be 9 feet long and 3 feet tall. So they would be in that figure 8 area that Mr. Duenas was talking about, and they would be mosaic sculptures that would be worked on with the kids of Brawley. So the Rainforest Art Program would have the children in the school district actually place the mosaics on the sculpture so they can have a big piece in that part of the project. We're also, this is sort of a rendering at the top of what the entry monument might look like, and it's going to look a little different than that, but the public art piece is actually the center of that entry monument, a small mosaic showing the whip-tailed lizard that's native to the valley. Then we have a special art bench. It's going to be about 7 feet long, made of different colored stone. That's going to be also incorporated at one of those 3 nodes. So those 3 nodes where we would have the Indian, Native American basket patterns, 2 of them would have the lizard sculptures, and the 3rd one would have a bench looking similar to this. On the restroom building, we want to dress that up a little, so we're looking at having some architectural features. These would be small, maybe 16-inch by 8-inch or 8-inch by 8-inch little pieces that would fit along the front of the building to celebrate the treasures of the desert once again. And then we're also looking at adding some grills in openings along the exterior of the building, so to allow natural light in instead of windows, have these grills, and maybe even incorporate some of them as skylights, so that when the sun shines down, it would cast a shadow of these grills into the restroom. A cool little feature incorporated in there. That's another example of that. And then finally, we're going to have an art contest, and there's going to be 5 members of the community, youth of the community, that would be selected to work with Rainforest Art Program to develop their own vision for an art piece within the park. There's going to be a $4,000 budget for each of the 5 awardees, and they would use that budget for their materials, basically, and work with Rainforest Art Program to fabricate and construct the art piece.
How would you let the people know, or the students know, that we're having that contest?
So Karin, the former director of Parks and Rec, is sort of spearheading that. She's working with the school district, the superintendent, and going to get the word out to all the different children at all the different levels in the school district. We'll also be advertising in local newspapers on the city website. So we're going to do basically a blitz through many different outlets. If you have any other ideas how to do that.
Okay. Another question I had is, not everybody knows who Alice Giroux is. Are you going to have, like, maybe on a rock or somewhere, a little history about how it was named and why it was named after her? Are you going to have something like that?
We have not talked about that, but it would be very easy to incorporate that into the project. I think that's a great idea.
It would be nice. That way people know why it was named after her.
Right. Yeah, that's a great idea. One other thing we just submitted today, just because they're pretty pictures, I added them on here. These are some of the plants, the desert landscaping that we're considering incorporating into the project. They're currently in review with city staff, so you might end up not seeing some of these. But this is our first pass at some of the landscape features in the park. Then just quickly to touch on our schedule, we're planning to submit our 90% design at the end of January and have design complete by May and go out to bid in June. Hopefully award at a city council meeting a contract for a contractor in August, and then construction to begin in September. And we're looking at about 7 to 8 months. So by March or April of next year. That's our current schedule. Things tend to slip with construction projects, but we're going to be diligent in trying to keep to this current schedule. So with that, any other questions?
Very, very exciting project.
Yes.
It's really good. I'm sure the community is going to be well pleased with the park. Thank you, gentlemen, very much. And Chris, come on up. Thank you for being patient with us, bro.
Chris Ferguson, soon to be 1688 Street. I'm glad someone mentioned shade, because that's one of the two things I was going to talk about, was that anything with, you go to the Lion Center, during the summer, that sun reflecting on the water and you got the sun on your back, I turn purple. The other thing I wanted to question was parking, because during a busy school day, you walk down that street at 3 o'clock, you have hundreds of cars flooding Eastern Avenue, A Street, Magnolia, all these surrounding streets. I can just imagine a scenario after middle of June, school's out, open gym's not open yet, maybe not. Parents can't afford to send their kids out there. They're going to want to go to the splash pad. And parking around Alice Giroux, or however you pronounce it, I'm still not sure. I've been covering this thing for 3 years. Is going to be a problem. It is definitely going to be a problem. The neighbors are going to complain. houses around there. I mean, is there anything in the plans about addressing how the parking is going to be handled?
There's no additional parking, from my recollection, associated with the project area.
Yeah. There's not a reserved parking spot even today for the park.
It's off-site.
So it's off-site
Accepted
parking.
parking?
Yeah, and just the Eastern Avenue is kind of wide, so you're gonna have people parked on the east side of that street, crossing a really wide highway or avenue to reach the park. Surrounding the streets surrounding to the north and south, and forgive me, I do live in the area, but I don't walk down that street, so I don't know their names. They're quite narrow, and so any through traffic that's going to be behind Oakley School is basically almost going to be one way.
Yeah,
it's going to be a single space for single lanes.
I don't think there's no design parking in any park.
Any apartment, except maybe Pat Way.
Well, that's
not actually our property.
I got that, but that's the only thing.
But I'm just saying that it is going to be a concern because this, when summer hits, and, even in Imperial, Ed Eager Park is quite busy during the summer, and their streets aren't nearly as narrow.
I think you bring up a good point, and I think it's something we can have our staff address and look at. It's just as part of the design process that is already being worked on.
Yeah.
But certainly we can have staff take a look at that and see how we can best address it.
Yeah.
But you bring up valid points.
I'm just saying, everything looks nice. I look forward to, being with my little cousins and letting them hurt themselves on the thing.
Oh, come on.
Don't mind me. I'm just being sarcastic. But anyway,
we know.
I hope, I wish all the success. It looks great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we will, I think you bring up some good points, and we'll look at them. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public? Council?
Great presentation. I have no further. I'm ready to make a motion.
There's nothing to...
Mr. Mayor, may I offer one just summary comment? We did have a very, very active discussion amongst departments about the project, overall project concept. And one of the items of extended dialogue was that of shading the splash pad itself and how conventional or unconventional it was to fence the splash pad. Our local examples of splash pads do not have fencing around the splash pad itself. There was mention in one of the workshops there would be an opportunity if it were in fact fenced, it could potentially be used for birthday parties or rentals that were that required or could benefit from it being cordoned off in some fashion. But the topic of shade, not just for those parents or other family members that aren't participating, but for all visitors to the splash pad was a topic that all the parents in the room, as well as the adults interested in partaking in the splash pad, noted that in high temperatures it's rough being exposed to direct sunlight.
Right.
Yeah, and I think Imperial has a shade at their splash pad.
You're right, they do.
Yes.
Just one other issue, have we also taken into consideration what our issues have been down at the cattle call with plumbing, and have we designed this so that we're not using copper piping for this situation, so that we don't run into people stealing the plumbing out of all of the restrooms and the splash pad and everything else that goes along with that?
Well, for the restroom and the control room plumbing, the majority of that is interior plumbing.
Right.
So no plumbing should be exposed. Am I correct, guys? And then, Dennis, I'll let you follow up on the components of the splash pad as to what's exposed and what isn't.
The only exposed piping would be within the mechanical room itself, and all of that piping would be PVC. It all needs to be corrosion-resistant materials.
Okay.
That's typical around public swimming pools.
Okay, that's because one of the problems that we have here in the valley is copper theft, and so what's going to happen is if there's a lot of copper utilized, then they're going to break in and they're going to try to steal that copper. Now, they may not succeed in doing that, but they will create some damage. If we can tell them that it's not in there, odds are they might leave it alone, and so that might be a better way to approach this. I mean, with fences and stuff, there's differences, but I just think that there could be some issues.
Yeah, for public swimming pools, splash pads, we go to great lengths to make sure there isn't any copper because of staining and corrosions with chlorinated water and all that stuff.
Sounds good.
We could use live bobcats there, Sam.
Put some live bobcats and mountain lions out in the park.
And everything will be tacked down where they can't be taken.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
And then one more item. In our excitement to get the project going, we erred in our initial agreement as to the length of time of the agreement. So we're pretty much covered, in the design phase of the project, but we're here to ask your authorization that you authorize amendment number 1 to the agreement. And what this amendment will do, it'll lengthen the time of the agreement to cover the process of going out to bid, preparing the bid documents, and overseeing the construction process. So
basically what we need to do is make a motion to approve the review and the authorization of amendment number 1 to the project.
It's adding 730 calendar days to the agreement?
Total.
Yes.
Correct?
As written, yes.
Without any cost?
No cost.
No additional cost, right.
I'll go ahead and make the motion if we're ready to authorize amendment number 1.
There's a motion and a second to authorize the amendment. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
We look forward to the renovation of Alistair Root Park. Okay, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda is 4C, and that's the mayoral appointments to the city boards and commissions. And I'll just go right down the list, and I've got some comments back from most of the council members and pretty much wanting to stay on the commissions that they are. Mrs. Noriega has given me some of her choices, and I'll just go right down the list, and that way Alma can document who's where. Okay, the Brawley Chamber of Commerce Board Directors, Mr. Couchman and Mrs. Noriega as the alternate.
Thank you.
You guys okay with that?
Yep.
The Imperial County Air Pollution District Board of Directors, Mr. Couchman as the delegate, and I'll take the alternate. Imperial County Emergency Food and Shelter Program,
Alternate is fine.
the alternate is fine?
Yes.
Okay, and then I'll take the delegate. Okay, Imperial County Film Commission.
I'd like to remain in.
Okay, and then Helen, would you take the alternate?
Sure.
Okay. Okay, Imperial County Transportation Commission, ICTC. We've got Mr. Nava as the delegate and myself as the alternate. I'm okay with that. Okay. Imperial County Local Transportation Authority, LTA.
Same, it's the same for the
Same
LTA
thing.
and safe.
That's Mr. Nava as the delegate and myself as the alternate. Imperial County Service Authorization for Freeway Emergencies. That's Mr. Nava as the delegate and myself as the alternate. And then Imperial Valley Emergency Communications Authority, and I've got as the delegate Mr. Wharton, and then as the alternate Chief. Would you mind sitting on that commission? Imperial Valley Emergency Communication Authority. Okay. Okay. On the next page, we got League of California Cities Delegate, and that would be me and Helen as the alternate.
Yes.
Okay. Imperial Valley Regional Public Safety Training Authority, Mr. Wharton and me as the alternate. North County Coalition of Arts, Mrs. Noriega and Mr. Nava as the alternate. Okay.
Thank you.
Imperial County Overall Economic Development Commission, Mr. Couchman and Mr. Nava as the alternate.
That's fine.
Abandoned Vehicle Abatement Joint Powers Authority, and I've got Mr. Soto and Mr. Gates on that. Mr. Soto's not here, he's ill, but it's okay to point him to, I don't want him to say, because you weren't there, you got appointed.
That's how you get appointed.
That's how you get appointed. That's how that works. Okay, so we'll stay with Mr. Soto as the delegate, and Gordon, you okay with the alternate, sir? Okay. Okay, Imperial Valley Enterprise Zone, Mr. Couchman as the delegate and Mrs. Moore as the alternate. Okay, California Joint Powers Insurance Authority, Mr. Nava and Mrs. Noriega. And then Southern California Association of Government, which is SCAG, myself as the delegate and Mrs. Noriega as the alternate.
Okay.
Association of California Cities Allied with Prisons, Mrs. Noriega and Mr. Nava. And the last page, Airport Advisory Commission, Mr. Wharton and Mr. Couchman.
We're still
Gentlemen, okay with that?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. Imperial Valley Housing Authority, Mr. Campbell and Mrs. Noriega.
Okay.
Library Board of Trustees, Mr. Wharton and myself as the alternate.
They like you there. That's good.
Parks and Recreation Advisory Commission, Youth Commission, Mrs. Noriega as the delegate and me as the alternate.
Okay. Thank you.
Planning Commission, Mrs. Noriega as the delegate and me as the alternate.
Okay.
Public Safety Committee, Mr. Wharton and Mrs. Noriega. And that's it. So we are good with the mayor appointments. Thank you guys very much for stepping up and helping with that. Okay, we'll move on to item 5 is departmental reports. Playground Safety and Risk Management Program, Mr. Rubio, Parks and Recreation.
Thank you, Mayor Campbell. Members of council, Richard Rubio again. Just wanted to briefly fill you in on the implementation, the department's implementation of our Playground Safety and Risk Management Program. In partnership with Shirley Bonias, Personnel and Risk Management Administrator, we've started implementing a new safety program which consists of additional and more thorough safety inspection of our playground equipment. The plan is to ensure the safety of our park users, and with the horror stories out there, I don't know if you remember an incident back in Orange County a few years back where someone was actually embedding nails in the play equipment and broken glass around a park in Orange County. I mean, you've got people out there that go to those extremes to injure and to put people in peril. So we've been out. We're doing the best we can. And with the help of our California Joint Power Insurance Authority, we came up with the plan that Ms. Bonias and I both reviewed and approved. So once again, it's going to consist of more thorough inspection. We've got an updated checklist that we will be using, and the goal is to have weekly inspections of every playground area that we have within our park system. So we feel that by combining this with the current practices, that we'll be able to ensure the safety of our users and primarily the youth of our city. So that's our plan, and if you've got any questions, I'm here.
Any questions from council?
Mr. Mayor, yeah, just this actually answers some of the questions I was going to ask with the previous presentation on the future park improvement with Alice Giroux.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see how our staff, is it going to be your staff for Public Works that actually will get trained on how to maintain things like the splash pad and what we've got coming
Well,
up in the
it'll
future.
actually be our staff going out there. We're very fortunate. Fanny Posada, our maintenance lead worker at the Lions Center, she is a certified pool operator. She just went and just got her recertification a couple months back. And Arturo Beltran, the other maintenance worker, he's due to attend that training in the next fiscal year. So they're both very proficient at what they do. They're very knowledgeable of pool operation. And like the team member from Kimley Horn mentioned, our splash pad is pretty much the same setup as our pool. I mean, it's got a pump. It's got a chemical feed system. It's got filters, and just the mechanical setup is similar to our pool. So we don't feel that's going to be an issue. The training aspect of it, I'm sure there are a few different criteria you need to apply to the splash pad as opposed to a swimming pool. But I think we're going to be pretty much up to speed on it. Mr. I can't think of his last name, Dennis. He's very, very knowledgeable in aquatics. And he's already offered a training program for staff before we even open the splash pad. And I think that's all good. It's going to be part of the consultation costs involved. We will be trained, and for sure Fanny and Arturo will be up to speed on the operation of the splash pad even before we open it.
A checklist of this type, is that what you guys
Yes,
going to be using?
yes.
Okay.
That's the
really
checklist,
nice
yeah. And that's from California JPIA.
That's nice to have. It kind of gives you the record that what was checked off.
Yeah, we've got a checklist that we use, but it's not that thorough. So we're going to move to that one.
That looks
And
good.
just one more comment, and I'm speaking of the checklist, I was really happy to see that it does several things. Obviously, it documents, but just being a pilot, I can tell you right now that it certainly makes sure that we can verify that we're looking out for the safety as well as obviously the longevity of our facilities. So I'm really happy to see that. Thank you. Work on it.
Any other questions from council? Any questions from the public?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard.
Thanks, Richard.
Okay, the next item on the agenda, 5B on page 48 of the packet, is the record of building permits, November 2013, Mr. Soto. And again, like I said, Mr. Soto's not here today, so our city manager can touch on that.
Right, so just as a matter of information, we try to keep you up to date on the activity occurring within city limits relative to the pulling of building permits. And as of December, this is what has been tracked for having taken place or been pulled in the month of November.
Yeah, okay, not bad. Okay, we'll move on to council member reports. We'll start with Mrs. Noriega.
Thank you. I was invited to it's called the Girls Christmas Fiesta, and it's the Spirit of Giving, and I invited Rosanna to go along with me. And what it is it was at the home of Lori Young, and what it is we pick, instead of exchanging gifts, what we do is we give to our favorite charity. And so I think we ended up making $9,000 for different charities that I think there were 75 of us or something like that. So it was a very good turnout. That's and good. For our charities, it was good. And the fire department was on the list also, so I was proud about that. And then I was privileged to go to the Christmas lights at the kiosk, and it was a smash. The children sang, and they had a lot of spirit. So for the next year, people have been commenting on how well that went, but they would like to see more lights. Yeah. So I had Mrs. Mary Stager say she would volunteer and head for next year, and she would start sometime in September, if it was okay with the council, to start collecting monies to put up lights for all the trees in as many trees as possible, depending on how much she collects, to light up our plaza here. So I said, sounds good to us, I believe. And then I went to the Christmas party over at Dennis Marita's in El Centro, and there was lots and lots of food and great music and lots of people. I met lots of people there, so thank you, Dennis, for the invite. And then I went to the CD Bank Chamber Mixer, and it was, I was privileged to win 2 gifts there. And my whole table, I think we ended up with 8 bottles of wine that we all won. So I was at a good table. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, it's been an enjoyable couple of weeks as Mr. Zara presented the farmers market. That was my first one I got to enjoy. Missed the first one and had a great time working, so I hope that's not the last time. I don't know if I'll be called back again, but it was definitely a good time interacting with all the various folks that attracted. I know we had some competition that same day, but nonetheless, frankly, looking around, you really couldn't tell, at least at the peak hour. It seemed pretty busy, but I had the privilege also with my fellow council members to attend the Angel Tea event earlier, and was a great event. And I know that Marjo Mello is not here this evening, but she really puts on a great program. And I think one of our honorees was Mrs. Bonias, that evening, as several staff members and a lot of our volunteers. But again, we can't say enough. I know it's not just a library, but it amazes me the year I've been on this council how many people give of their time for their community, and you really get to see that with the city, and certainly that night we got to honor that, so it was a great event. Outside of that, the only other thing with my fellow council member George Nava, we've been spending a little bit of time trying to aggressively pursue more candidates and making them aware of our local, for our local businesses, the Brawley Business Committee. It's my personal desire, I think it's the desire of the council. We definitely want to see our local business owners and stakeholders represented on that committee. Really, that's what it's all about. I think it's great we have some great applicants with their interest in it, but what we really want to see is some great representation throughout our city, because it's really their wisdom, it's their knowledge, their input that's going to help us with some of the positive things we can do with that. So we did spend some time with that. So outside of that, I want to wish everybody a great holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Actually, I think the next time we meet will be next year. And I do want to also wish my fellow council members and the rest of the staff, again, I appreciate it. It's been a fantastic year, and look forward to next year.
Okay. I also attended the Library Angel Tea on December the 5th, and I also attended the Elks Leading Night Auction on December the 11th, which is for scholarships that the Elks Lodge gives out for students here in the local area, in the North End area. Chamber Mixer at CVB, attended that. It was a very nice mixer, and the Christmas lighting ceremony was very nice, and the children really enjoyed it, and I thought they liked all the events, and the parents were all there, and everybody had a good time. And I think we can build on that, and that can be a bigger thing. It was really nice and well attended, but I think over the years we can build a little bit on that one. I also attended the December 12th groundbreaking at the Barberworth Elementary School, or the junior high school, Brawley Elementary School District, for their new gymnasium. And they talked a lot about that and some of the things that they're doing over there, and a lot of little effort that they're making at that elementary school. I think it's going to be important. They talked about a gymnasium for kids when I went to school there, and that's been a few years ago. And now they're just now getting it. Yeah, just a little while. Yeah. Just a little while. Yeah. A long time ago, but that's great, and they're going to have a nice setup there. And it's going to be a neat place for the kids and for educational purposes there. And I wish everybody happy holidays and best of luck in the new year. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Mr. Knopf.
Hello, everyone. Just before I start, just would like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. I hope you enjoy your time with your family and your friends. It's been a long year for us, so hopefully our next year is a great one as well. I was able to attend the ICTC meeting, and happy to report that Caltrans did make some improvements to the intersection at the bypass in Hobley, and they've already been implemented, so hopefully that cuts down on some of the dangers in that area. And I drove it Friday night, and coming into Brawley. And it is, the signals are there, some yield signs, and I think they're going to be doing some striping soon, so hopefully that cuts down on some of the traffic collisions that they've been having in that area. Of course, I attended the farmers market with my fellow council member Wharton here, and that was a lot of fun. Jason, I think you're doing a great job. I think, in my own opinion, I think this is the most active that I've seen the chamber in a long time. And I'm very happy to see that, and I'm glad that you're taking the reins there, and it's really showing in the success that you're having lately. So I don't say that lightly. And I truly mean that. I think you're doing a great job. So good job to you, and it's nice to see that several people were out there in attendance. Attended the chamber mixer at the CBV Bank. I think that was a nice event as well, and I appreciate them hosting it. A lot of people in the mix, and I think most of us were successful in winning something. So that's always a lot of fun, and hopefully it raised a few dollars for the chamber. The tree lighting event was a big hit, and people seemed to enjoy that considerably. And we had some news coverage from Fox 9, so that's always important as well, just so people have an idea of the things that are happening within the city. Angel Tea Party, again, one thing I'd say about that event is that I always appreciate that Marjo recognizes not only the staff, but the volunteers. And I think it's very important, because I was sitting next to Donnie and we noticed something, and it's something that we've noticed in other events and things like that, but it was just a simple piece of paper recognizing somebody, and they went up there with such pride and to receive it, and they look at it, and it's a sense of accomplishment, and they're very proud of the fact that they're recognized and working with other people that enjoy doing what they do too. And so I appreciate that Marjo goes out and does that every year, and she does it very well. She's had a lot of practice, but I certainly think that when people volunteer their time, a simple thank you goes a long way, and I think that's what they received, and I certainly think that it makes a big difference in their ability to perform there as volunteers, and the fact that it makes them very happy to be there. So thank you to Marjo and the staff and to all the volunteers. And Barbara Worth, we did attend several of us attended the Barbara Worth groundbreaking together. I arrived a little bit late. I had some other things that I had to work on, but I did attend the groundbreaking, and I hope to see that project come to fruition in the next year and a half. So again, thank you all very much, and Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Mr. Morrow. I attended most of the same events, the junior high school groundbreaking, and Mr. Garcia, with his staff, they put on a really good lunch at Stockman and recognized some of the folks that helped make that happen through some of the committee meetings and stuff like that. I thought that went over real well. The Christmas kiosk, again, those kids singing those songs, and when you get kids involved, folks make sure they don't miss that, and I think that's really important, and staff did a really good job with that. I think there was 3 kindergarten classes from Ritter, and they singing and bobbing, and some of them had reindeer lights, and they did a really good job with that, so that was really good, and I really appreciate participating in that. The farmers market, and my colleagues mentioned that. I attended that, and Jay, as George said, the chamber's done a good job with that. There was some good eats there, some good vegetables and kettle corn, and it was a really good event, and the weather was perfect. The weather was really perfect, and that went off real well. The bank mixer was good, and you're right, it seemed like for some reason, I think everybody won something that was there that night. I don't think anybody left there without, empty-handed.
Maybe by design, who knows?
Well, I don't think I won anything.
Yeah. Sam, you won something, didn't you?
I won something.
You did.
Wanda won.
Well, yeah, that counts. Even if you won, she would take it anyways. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and again, as my colleagues have said, it's been a really busy year for the city. There's been some ups and downs, and I think our staff has handled things on a professional basis, and I really appreciate that. We get a lot of comments from some of the things that's going on and the growth that's going on in the city, and I'm really looking forward to that. I've seen that the construction is back over on Panel Road. They're back doing that, so hopefully we can get that open and get some of that traffic going around there, and hopefully some more development on the west side of 86 here in the future.
Can you mention about our traffic
Yes, the transit opening is going to be Wednesday, 9:30. We're going to meet there and try to get everything together to do that. And that's another project that's a really nice project that's going to allow people to move about throughout the city. It's got scheduled stops, and I think they've got a really good pattern of stops, and I think the folks in the city is going to enjoy that. It makes it really easy to get around when you don't have to drive, and you can do your shopping and hit the spots that you need to hit. So we're looking forward to that too. And I want to say welcome to the chief again. I know he's only been here a short time, but welcome to our city, and I know you're going to do a good job, so we look forward to continuing to work with you and your staff.
When he introduced, he said earlier, he said he was going to introduce a new officer, thought he was going to introduce himself, but no.
He got there day before.
That's right, he should be introducing you. That's good.
And I want to thank staff for their work, and we look forward to a very happy Christmas. And I'll say this from my heart: it's not just the end of the year; it is Christmas, and it is the season and we love our Savior. And I hope everybody have a well-blessed, safe Christmas and a happy New Year. And I ask that God continue to bless you guys and your families. Thank you. We'll move on to the city manager's report.
Tomorrow morning's opening at 9:30 will be the Brawley Union High School Band, so we hope you'll be there to join us. And at 10:30, we will literally break the gold ribbon on the gold line as it begins its schedule through the streets of Brawley. There are 20 new bus stop locations that are a total of 28 stops, and the full route will run about 70 minutes. So ICTC and the provider, Ivy Transit, have waived fares for the first 30 days or so. So between tomorrow and February 3rd, everyone can ride for free in the city of Brawley. And if you wish to take a ride tomorrow, I know they're looking for new passengers. So we hope you can join that big occasion of celebrating both the transit station opening and the hard work that's gone to construct that facility, as well as the expansion of the service line.
Rosanna, will they have schedules?
Yes, and I actually emailed this evening schedules to all of you. They will be ready. They should be printed and
they're available online already.
Yeah,
they're online, but also the printed version I think will be in the display boards. If they're not there already, they will be in the next week or so. Also wanted to remind council that for our departments that are on regular schedules, so everyone other than PD and fire, the eves and the holidays are days that the city offices are closed. So if you need anything, you're always welcome to get in contact with me, but our offices are scheduled for closure on those days, aside from fire and PD. And then with Pano, it was noted that activity resumed, but I also want to caution that the week of Christmas, which is week after next, we do expect it to be a quiet week on site. It's a known week for activity stopping. So we're hoping that it's a very temporary arrangement, and the schedule is for it to resume the following week. And with that, I have no other comments.
Thank you. The treasurer's report?
Nothing.
Thank you, sir. City attorney?
Nothing to report, sir.
Okay, with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. And again, like I said, we wish everybody a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And,